This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you!
Boring. Boring. Boring.
Okay, you got it. Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. That's exactly what you're doing. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
Welcome, Lembit, Öpik here on Lembit, Öpik Live, here on Unprecedented TV, where we find the facts, kill the spin, and tell it like it is as best we can, which is more than can be said for Rachel Reeves, the Labour Chancellor, some would say. Now, Rachel Reeves, the woman whose CV was all wrong, apparently somebody else wrote it. Doesn't look very good on your CV if you couldn't write your own CV. But moving on, she's now back in for her second major budget announcement today. But there is good news. Last year, she hiked taxes up by more than pretty much any chancellor in history. And she promised she wouldn't be coming back for more taxes. So that means there will be no tax increases because we were promised by the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, that this would be a government of change. And one would presume that would mean a government of integrity and honesty and a government which doesn't lie to the public. Well, hold the front page there, because just maybe Rachel Reeves was lying. We shall find out today. If you're watching this live, like me and my guest who's going to join me in just a minute, you might be potentially enraged already by the fact that for the last few months we've been promised tax rises after being promised no tax rises. What's going on? In the background, we have a stuttering economy, and there's a big irony here. We keep being told by people in the government that the Russian economy is on its knees, but last year it grew by 4%, and the British one didn't, and we went under sanctions. We get told that there'll be productivity improvements, but it doesn't look like the Office for Budget Responsibility, which is a bit of a weird department, but set up by the government to scrutinize the government. Even the OBR doesn't seem to think that's the case. And fundamentally, we're told that things can only get better. That was even the slogan, the catchphrase, the song for one of Labour's previous general election campaigns. They don't seem to be getting better very fast. And dare I say it, some people suggest they're getting worse. Indeed, to the point where if we didn't have uncontrolled mass immigration, then the actual gross domestic product would be going down. It seems to be going down per head. So in that context, what is it that the great Rachel Reeves, the bumbling Chancellor, can do to make us all feel a whole lot better? Joining me now is somebody who always makes me feel better. It's Nick Buckley, MBE. And I understand congratulations are in order for longevity of a relationship which is 4 times longer lasting than so far the current Chancellor's tenure in office.
Yeah, it's my wedding anniversary tomorrow. But today's going to be a hell of a day when she announces what she's going to announce. She's
What,
going
your wife?
To... No, I meant Rachel Reeves.
You're not married to Rachel Reeves, are you? I'm terribly sorry. I didn't mean to make it so personal. We could have got on with somebody else. Rachel Reeves. Well, not Nay Buckley, but Rachel Buckley. That would be a hard one, wouldn't it?
Well, I can promise if I was married to Rachel Reeves, the economy would be a lot better than it is today.
So that thing in the background, that's in number 11, is it? Number 11 Downing Street. Where do you park your car? I've always wanted to know that. And sorry, that's gone on a bit of a tangent. Well, congratulations on your 4th wedding anniversary. Do you think Rachel will make it to 4 years in her weird betrothal to the British people?
No, and I don't think the Labour Party will make it to a 4-year anniversary. They are in a doom loop. There's nothing they can do to get out of what's happening. They're being sucked under, and a lot of it is down to their mistakes and their policy. But let's get into the budget. So I've been saying for about 3-4 weeks, and it's all over my YouTube channel. I've been saying for 3-4 weeks, she will not be raising income tax, national insurance, or VAT, even though she started floating those ideas. That was the same trick everybody else does when they're the Chancellor. We're going to leak really bad things I'm going to do. And then when I don't do it, whatever I have introduced seems a lot better than what it was going to be. So she used the same old trick of threatening to raise income tax, which she's not going to do. But she's going to raise lots of other taxes that we don't even know. There's tax on those things. She's coming for a hell of a lot of money off us.
I think that you're right. I didn't think you were right. And I'm humble enough, Nick, to say you told me so. I thought she would raise either income tax, VAT, or national insurance. But she probably won't, except for one thing. Increasing income tax means that you pay more tax on your income. If she freezes the threshold at which you pay a certain amount of income tax, that de facto means that you'll be paying more tax. So if she does freeze those thresholds, you were wrong and I was right.
She will freeze those thresholds, but that's not. But that's not perceived by the general public as an income tax rise. So that's a different. That's doing it sneakily, and lots of governments don't increase the threshold for that reason. But she's not increasing the rate of income tax. So therefore, you think you'll find I was correct.
Well, oh no, you aren't. Here's why I think you're wrong, Nick. Because it's really the difference between taking one step forward to volunteer or everyone else taking one step back. If without going into the economics of it too much, if there's inflation, then people's incomes should go up, and you'd expect the threshold to go up to reflect that. If the threshold doesn't go up, in simple terms, if you don't increase the tax thresholds, you are actually fleecing people for more income tax.
Lembit, you're reaching here. You're reaching. When she was announcing and leaking that she was going to raise income tax, she wasn't saying, I'm going to freeze the thresholds. So therefore, that is she was talking about raising the percentage of income tax. So you're going off on a tangent there. But I understand that you obviously want to be right. And that's the difference between me and you. You want to be right. I know I am right.
You patronizing git. Can I get away with git? Yes, I can. I can call you git. No, apparently I'm not meant to say that because you're a member of the British Empire. There's probably treason or something to say that. So, all right. So it doesn't seem to be where I can agree with you. I'm enjoying this, by the way. I always enjoy talking with you. Because you're refreshingly rude. But take it out on me so you can have a good time with your wife. But though if she agrees with me, then get her on. They'll have her on next week instead. But so Reeves probably isn't going to actually increase the rate of income tax. But interestingly enough, leaving that aside, if she doesn't raise income tax, VAT, or national insurance, you've got the mother of all problems, because everything she's done is worse than expected. I laugh at the mainstream media, particularly the state-sponsored British Broadcasting Corporation, who every week or month go, inflation's higher than expected. Unemployment's higher than expected. Borrowing is higher than expected. Growth is lower than expected. Well, why are you surprised? Because this Chancellor is as bad as expected. And because she's really done an absolutely crap job of running the economy, she's got a black hole, her phrase, that she can't fill. And now back to that previous point. Rachel Reeves said that not increasing tax thresholds. In 2023, 2 years ago, Rachel Reeves said that not increasing tax thresholds is picking the pockets of the workers. That's what she said about the Tories. So Rachel Reeves agrees with me, I've just remembered, not with you.
Oh, Lembit, leave this point alone. Leave this point alone.
Because I've just found a better argument.
No,
I know it was
no.
messy, but I remembered that just now. But she said it's another broken promise, though. Well, essentially, because she's now doing exactly the thing.
Yeah.
Whether that's actually increasing income tax or not is almost a moot point in terms of what I'm saying now. She said it's bad not to increase the thresholds, and she slammed the Tories for it.
Yeah.
Now she's likely to do it herself.
Oh, absolutely. And all politicians do this. It's easy to be in opposition and criticize the government opposite you. And then you end up being in government and doing all the things you said you would never do. But let's get back to the budget today.
Yeah.
The budget last year and the budget this year today are going to be two completely different budgets, not because of what she announces, but because of what she wants to achieve through that budget. Last year's budget was she thought she could improve the economy, save the country, make us all rich with her socialist policies that she's been studying for 2 decades. So the terrible budget last year was an ideological budget of how I fix the country. And it's failed, and we knew it'd fail. The budget today has got nothing to do with ideology. It's got nothing to do with fixing the country. The budget today is to save this Labour government, not save it with the general voter, but to save it with her backbenchers and save it with the left, the far left in her party, the Greens and your party. This budget now...
Hang on, what's my party? I'm not in the Lib Dems.
Your party, the Hezbollah party.
All right, carry on. That's very good. I like that.
Yeah, I think it was Andrew Neil made up that phrase, the Hezbollah party.
It's very good.
I don't want people thinking I made that up. I didn't. So this budget today is all about saving the Labour Party. They know they can't improve the economy. They know they're in trouble. They're going to borrow so much more money, knowing it's bad for the country, knowing they can't afford it. But this budget's not about the country. This budget is about them staying in power and trying to work out the best way they can possibly maybe have a small chance of winning the next election. Nothing to do with the economy. It's going to be the worst budget, the most politicized budget in my lifetime.
Okay, so looking at the really interesting point you make, where can she get all the, if she doesn't increase the big three in any substantial way? Apparently she can make 8,000 million by freezing the thresholds, but that's not nearly enough to fix the problem that she herself has created. Where can she get the rest? I'll put one in here. I bet you she goes for air passenger duty, which is it's horrible tax paid by people who go on holiday and everything else and flying. Well, I'm pretty damn sure that Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer and David Lammy don't pay for their tickets, flight tickets. So I think she'll probably put air passenger duty up, making Britain even less attractive as a place to land or take off.
Yeah, it'll be that. There's been rumours about putting taxes on green cars. There'll be dozens and dozens of these little taxes that won't add up to much money at all, but it sends a signal that, look, we're punishing the people we don't like. We're also putting tax on things we don't like, such as driving in planes and things like that. But we're not touching these things. But we're going to have to borrow another 10, 20, 30, 40 billion pounds. We'll put that on the national credit card. The interest rates will go up because of that, of the money we've borrowed, because we're becoming more and more of a liability to the people we borrow the money off. And they're just kicking the can down the road. What they're doing is, and many governments have been doing this for a long time, they're playing a huge game of Jenga. They keep pulling a little bit of Jenga wood out, hoping the tower doesn't fall on their watch. They're hoping they can get away with one or two more Jenga sticks coming out, and maybe the next government, it will all come crashing down. And they're gambling with our futures and our economy.
when you look at pictures like that, I don't really like making personal comments, but she looks smug, and she just looks like she doesn't know what she's doing. I'm not sure if that's an unfair comment.
It is. You can't get that from a picture of someone.
Well, there are quite a lot of pictures that make her look like she doesn't know what she's doing. I don't know. There's something about it. Time and time again, you see her at the Labour conference and stuff like that. I mean, you're right. You can take a bad picture, but somehow I just don't feel she portrays herself as credible when she's talking and everything else.
She absolutely doesn't portray herself as confident. And we've got better examples of that. And I'll give you two. Her sat in Parliament crying her eyes out. The second most powerful politician in the UK sat in Parliament on the front bench, weeping and sobbing like a sad little girl. That doesn't breed confidence.
See,
Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, but you see, that sounds quite personal. Maybe for another time. I don't want to stray too much into how we talk about politicians, but I would agree with you. You leave your problems at the door when you go to work, and Parliament's a workplace. But you don't know what was going on. Maybe she just had a bereavement. Maybe her dog's just been run over. So
well, even if that's the case, she shows bad judgment for walking in the chamber in the first place when she wasn't capable of holding it together. So she shows bad judgment either way. And the second point we could point to is last couple of days, her doing TV and news interviews, blaming her poor performance on the miners' strikes, Brexit, and now saying she's only being criticised because she's a woman. It's misogyny. So there's many things we can point to her saying you're pathetic and you're incompetent. Many things.
I have to say I was stunned when I saw. I had to double take on it when she said that misogyny is bringing her down. No, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman or a bit of both, which seems to be popular with the wokerati. You're just really bad as a chancellor. I think the other great irony is that when she goes on and on and on and on about the Conservatives being terrible and so on, she's just doing a worse job herself. And when they're doing exactly the things they were damning the Tories for, it's hypocrisy I don't like. I was at an event yesterday with some pretty high-rolling people, and I think the feeling fundamentally was what they don't like about the current government, because there are people who they're kind of quite right-on people, and they'd be inclined to vote for Labour, I think, and they just not one of them would do that now, or at least they say they wouldn't, because they just don't feel there's a credibility. Just before going any further, I got to get this in. Claire Dyer is a very credible person. She does dire consequences. If she was the Chancellor, we'd be in a much better state. Now that would be a good Chancellor. She'd be scary, Claire Dyer. And
she'd be competent.
Yeah, she'd be competent. She doesn't pretend to be something she's not. Doesn't make up her CV. I've always wondered about those dinosaurs in the advert. I'm not sure where they came from. Never seen them.
I know where the dinosaurs came from. It's because the TERFs, so people who are against gender ideology and men going into women's spaces, were called dinosaurs by other feminists. You're just a dinosaur. So the TERFs started dressing up as dinosaurs.
I like it. I have to say I'm impressed. They're far more in tune with popular culture than I ever imagined. And then the things behind you would suggest. I often think that you look like you must have played Indiana Jones or something and collected those on your travels. Now, there are other problems we've got here. On the one side, they're saying they haven't got enough money, but they're happy enough to sponsor a war with, well, there he is, the incompetent and ineffective leader of Ukraine, leader of an incredibly corrupt regime, it seems, Zelensky. Zelensky warns against giving up territory as final talks in Ukraine conclude. And we almost hear that helping Zelensky, who I honestly think is a useless politician, is more important than keeping people warm here. And we can find billions to throw into this absolute meat grinding road crash of a failure, but we can't find enough money to run Britain and fix potholes and all the other things. Who's writing these priorities? Well, maybe you disagree. Maybe you think that we should be investing in Ukraine. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, I absolutely not. I don't think we should be investing in any country unless it's in our national interest. But certain people in our country think Ukraine is in our national interest because we've already left the EU. We've Brexit happened, and that was awful, and we never should have done it. Many people think, and if we abandon the EU now and allow Ukraine to fall, and the EU are pushing back against this, it's the way we keep in with the EU. It's the way we keep in with the international communists, because we want an international global communist regime running the world. And it's a way for them to keep one foot in with the EU.
Well, I have to say, I'm stunned by the billions that we've thrown away. It's worse than that. Every billion that we spend adds to death. We're basically buying death. I heard absolutely catastrophically bad reporting on BBC Radio 4 yesterday morning on the Today programme, where the woman called Kaya Kallas, who comes from Estonia, which is where my parents came from, and she was saying, oh, well, Putin has to get rid of the downsize his nuclear arsenal so he can't attack Ukraine. How does that even make any logical sense? It's not a nuclear war. And then she kept moaning about the fact that that Russia won't change its demands. There are only three demands. There've always been only three demands. That's why we're having a war here. And the BBC seem to be in collusion with this complete misinterpretation of what's going on in Ukraine. So it seems to me, if they can't even understand the basics of a war, they're not really going to be able to understand why it's a bad priority and why we shouldn't be putting billions into it, which basically means the BBC is not competent to understand the part of the reason we've got this black hole, and we really do have one now. Probably didn't have before, but we do have one now. It's because of absolutely terrible decision making by ministers. But they get away with it because the mainstream media doesn't even seem to have the depth of understanding that you do.
It's because they all believe the same thing. They all believe the same ideology. So two things on those points there. The first point is they want Russia to get rid of their nuclear weapons. Ukraine did that. Look what happened to Ukraine once they got rid of their nuclear weapons. So that's a lesson for the world. That is, get rid of your nuclear weapons. You're wide open for invasion. And the second point about the borders, about nation states. Nation states' borders change all the time throughout the history of mankind. Stronger nations are always invading weaker nations, and that's human nature. The lesson from that is to make sure you're not one of the weaker nations.
The nuclear weapons that were in Ukraine actually belong to Russia, though.
They belong to the Soviet Union.
Soviet Union, correct. Right. Okay. I was wondering if I could get away with that shortcut, but you rightly didn't let me get away with it. If you're not sure about the difference between Russia and the Soviet Union, we'll get Marcus Papadopoulos on pretty soon to explain it. But so it's a fair point there. The underlying thing here is wars are really expensive. And we've got a Labour government so bad that they were actually trying to tell us that increasing spending on the Ukraine war would be good for our economy. What? We make things that then we blow up. Really? I'd rather that we made things that fixed potholes and the NHS and we actually put some investment on the channel to stop people coming across. But there we go. I think I told you this before. I was actually in Ramsgate yesterday for various things. If you're watching this live, very nice place if you live in Ramsgate, but I would like it a lot. But it was either Ramsgate or Margate. A former ship's captain said to me that the border force boat was called the Eternal Flame. Did I tell you this?
No,
They called it the Eternal Flame, the border force boat. Do you know why they called it the Eternal Flame?
no.
Because it never goes out. That was the running joke down there. So these sorts of expenditures, if you actually policed our border, you could save billions, because we wouldn't be putting all these knackerheads who come over here claiming asylum when they've just gone through a bunch of safe countries where they could have stayed. They don't police our border, and then they say there's a black hole. I mean, this is the problem. We've just got complete mission drift in the government. And now, at some point, once again, if you're watching this live, we'll find out in 3 hours from now how accurate this is or not. They're saying we've got a problem. Well, the problem is we've got a government which can't govern.
We always get into a state like this. What happens is we get lazy, weak politicians who don't want to make the hard choices, do the hard decisions and the hard work, because they're going to be unpopular and may not get voted in again. The easy answer is the status quo. Let's keep doing what we've always done. Keep spending and spending and spending. Someone else will have to deal with this mess down the road. A good example would be when Thatcher came into power. Thatcher did lots of things good, lots of things bad. I'm not saying we need a Thatcher. What I'm saying is our country was so bad in the late 70s that the public had to have someone like Thatcher to fix it. And that's where we are now. We need someone to come along to grab the bull by the horns, do all the unpopular things, cut welfare, close the borders, mass deportations, kick people off benefits and force them into work. All these things need to be done, but nobody wants to do it until the public reach rock bottom and the public are screaming for politicians to do it. We're not quite there yet, but another couple of years of this Labour government and we will be there.
This man here, Keir Starmer, hasn't exactly excelled as the main servant. He's not a leader, he's a servant, but main servant of the country. And I just feel that they are now in, what did you call it? A doom something?
A doom loop.
Doom loop, yeah. They just can't pull out of the dive. And in a way, it's tragicomic because we're all paying the price for it.
Yeah.
And he stands there looking like he doesn't know what he's talking about, flying to places like Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt just to be humiliated by Donald Trump. Flew all the way there just for a photo opportunity. I predicted it would go wrong, and it did go wrong. And then he appoints someone like David Lammy as his number 2. You think, oh, well, maybe number 3. It's just unbelievable.
It is. Going back to Starmer, did you see him the other day on social media saying he's going to do 10 years as Prime Minister? That made me chuckle. He's going to do 10 years. And then
does that mean he's going to ban the next election?
Yeah, probably. And talk about banning things. And David Lammy came out yesterday and said he's going to get rid of jury trials for most cases, and judges will be the only arbiter of the truth in a court. It's like, what is this government doing to us?
He made a bit of a Willy Wonka of himself when he was in the United Nations. He felt it obliged to tell people that he was black. You can kind of tell that's not him there. He doesn't represent Sierra Leone. But when you've got this terribly poor quality of speaker and of deputy prime minister and prime minister and chancellor, you know, all these main roles are. By the way, you see the way the camera went there. I think they actually focused on the wrong person. They thought the guy from Sierra Leone was David Lammy. That's what I think happened in that clip. That's why we use it. It's kind of amusing. But it just, these people are so weak. And I studied economics at school, and I was top rated for it. Then I went to university and I gave up after a year because I thought it was a pseudoscience. But at least I tried to study it. These people don't know pretty much anything. Almost out of time, and I know you've got to go somewhere as well. But I got a bit of just one chart, which I want you to guess what it's of. Can we just get that chart up? Yeah, there we are. Can you guess what this illustrates?
It's going to be something like Starmer's popularity.
Yes,
Is
well
it
done.
right?
Don't make a second guess. You got it right. That's really good. Yeah, that is Starmer's popularity rating.
Wow.
You can find all different ones. He is apparently, though most commentators would agree, that he is the most unpopular prime minister in history, in the history of polling. It's not going to go the other way after the budget, I don't think. So a couple of predictions then, and we can come back to the archive, clip it, and show if you're right or wrong. I should tell you, the late Alex Salmon had me on his show quite often when he was on RT. And I said that I predicted that Joe Swinson, who was then leader of the Liberal Democrats, would lose her seat. And even he said, no, that's not right. And fair play to Alex Salmon. After the election, he had me on. They should play that clip. And he said, you were right. So you can make a prediction or two predictions. One is what's going to happen in terms of the budget. And if you had to make one or two main predictions about the budget, what would it be?
I think when we analyze the budget overall, I think they're going to admit it's not going to raise much money at all. I think it's all for show. I think when you look at the individual policies she announces, it's going to not negatively affect their voters. So it's not going to affect the poor, migrants, Green voters, Islamists. This budget is being used to shore up their voting base, ready for the next general election, which they know will be sooner rather than later. It's got nothing to do with fixing the economy, and they know they're going to have to bother a load of more money, and they don't care.
Okay, that's a heady expectation. I say I think they're going to ram the tax up on air passenger duty, making it even more expensive to fly from Britain. So in other words, what people will do is they'll go to Amsterdam or France or maybe Frankfurt on a cheap flight, and then they'll do the expensive flights from there. You don't stop people from flying; you just make them fly from somewhere else. And if you're coming in,
what that does though is that then looks good to their Green voters, who then may not go across to the Green Party. This is all about their voter base. Every one of their policies they announce, you'll be able to analyze and go, that's good for their voter base.
Yeah, you can look up though and see the jet trails going over Britain instead of into Britain, and every aeroplane's got 200 people on it who could have spent some money in Britain. But all right, yeah, you could well be right about that. Second thing then, Rachel Reeves. Is there anything that she can do to turn around an economy that she has crashed, and I think in much more miserable style than any of her predecessors? And also Liz Truss. I think Liz Truss actually had some good ideas, but wasn't allowed to implement them.
I think our economy could be turned around fairly easily, but we haven't got any politicians who are willing to do what needs to be done. They don't have to do anything. They just need to remove government out of business. So if they cut red tape, they lowered employees' national insurance, they lowered taxes on business, they removed red tape and bureaucracy, and all these things, and then just left it alone. British entrepreneurs and British businesses are biting at the bit to be the best in the world. If we just remove the barriers the government keep putting in front of them, the country would explode in a good way.
Couple of comments. Mayfair Mob says, Mayfair Mob reposted the stream. Thank you very much indeed. Info Osiris 506 says hi. Hello. Fake presentation, says Troy JJ. Is that us? The government? Explain yourself. And Christy, thanks for reposting as well. And Stuart as well. So inconclusive from our non-scientifically chosen panel of experts there. Last one for you, though. I am interested. Is it snowing where you are up in the north? Or has it been?
Northwest of England, it's heavy frost everywhere. No snow, but heavy frost. My car's covered in it.
Yeah, I was out driving earlier on this morning. Have to do every day. And I quite like it, actually. But it kills the bugs. If you have a couple of weeks of cold, fewer people are ill, it's said, next summer, because it kills bugs and viruses. The the bugs that we see in this government, though, won't be killed off by cold weather. It seems to me, I'll just say this last thing, I don't think we're going to get an early election because turkeys don't vote for Christmas. And if they know they're going to crash and burn, the only prime minister dumb enough to call an election early is Richie Sunak, who proved, if there was any doubt, that you don't call an election early if you can avoid it. Well, good luck. Don't crash. And is your wife political?
No.
Okay. That's the recipe for a successful marriage. She's probably still better. She's probably still better than Rachel Reeves, I have to say. But there we go. Thank you so much. That is Nick Buckley, MBE, who's taking time off on his wedding anniversary to be with us. If you're watching this live, I'll make a prediction that Nick Buckley's right. That most of the increases will be hidden away, and it'll take a few hours for us to find them. But find them we will, and we'll come back to that again as well. That is what we've discussed this morning. We might do a budget special this afternoon, depending on the size of the decisions. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks to Nick Buckley, MBE. Thanks to the team. More than anything, thanks for having the courage to think for yourself. And please join us, subscribe, retweet, go to Unprecedented TV on YouTube, and just click the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. And help us get to the next milestone, the next full 1,000. I'm Lembit Öpik. That was Unprecedented TV's Lembit Öpik Live. Have a good day.
Immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The return of the sausages.